Starting off first here with an older coin, we'll get more modern here as we go. This is the 1943 silver quarter that has a cracked planchet. Now you'll see that crack going through there as we zoom in on this Washington quarter. Now the coin's only graded at a VG8 by PCGS, the coin grading company. So you can kind of see that, you know, it's on the lower end of the coin grading scale. As the grading scale goes up to 70, this is only at an 8. So not very good condition. But even in this condition, this quarter still sold for around $85, all because of that mint error. That is where all the value's at for this coin. You know, had it been a high mint state grade, it could have sold for a lot more money. Speaking of mint state grade, here is a 1953 Washington quarter that has a dropped D mint mark on the reverse of the coin. So, you know, this is something that you can look for with your coin microscopes. You'll see that there, the D mint mark is dropped in between there, between the R and the D of quarter dollar. Pretty obvious there, so always use your coin microscopes to look for things like that. It is graded at a mint state 65, so that helps its value as well, being in, you know, very good condition. This coin ended up selling for over $550 at auction. Here's a 1954 S mint mark Washington quarter that has been struck through a string here on the reverse. So you'll see that imprint there from the string here on the right side, on the upper right side of the Washington quarter here. This coin ended up selling at auction for over $185. It is the S mint mark, so if you're not familiar with those mint marks, of course you'll see no mint mark, a D mint mark, or an S mint mark there at the bottom on the reverse of the quarter. Graded by PCGS at a mint state 66, by the way. Nice grade. Now here is a 1960 D mint mark Washington quarter design that was struck onto a 1-cent planchet. So a Lincoln cent planchet, that's why it's got that copper color to it. This coin ended up selling for $1,100 at auction. Over a $1,000 coin here, graded by PCGS at a mint state 64 brown. Now here is a coin from 1963. Again, still the silver quarters here, 1964 and prior. So this is 1963 that has been struck through a retained copper fragment. And you'll see that there on the right side of the quarter. This coin graded by Annex at a mint state 64, sold at auction for $720. Man, can't beat that. Here's a 1964 silver quarter graded by PCGS at a mint state 62. Has a large broad strike, which is pretty obvious type of mint error, pretty extreme here. See around the rim of the coin. This coin ended up selling for over $190 at auction. Now this next coin here sold for over $1,000. 1964, it has that huge broad strike as well like the last quarter, but this quarter has also been double struck. So you'll see that design twice there. You'll see it's rotated. Absolutely love this coin here. This quarter ended up selling for $1,080 at auction. Man, can't beat that. Graded by PCGS at a mint state 64. Love double strikes, one of my favorite type of mint errors. Now here's a 1965 that has a retained cud or die break here on the bottom of the obverse of the coin. We'll see that going through the date. The coin is graded by PCGS at a mint state 63. And this coin ended up selling at auction for over $190. Not too bad for 25 cents. Here is a 1973 Washington quarter that looks pretty normal. Doesn't look like much is going on here. But here on the reverse of the coin, it is missing the outer clad layer. That's why you see the inner copper layer of the quarter. So the quarter is only graded at a mint state 62 by NGC. I say only because, you know, in 1973, a more modern coin, you can find these in much better condition, right? You can. There's tons of these graded higher than a mint state 62. But the coin does have that mint error where it's missing the clad layer on the reverse. So that's what will give it a little bit of value. This coin sold for around $110 at auction. Now here's the 1976 S mint mark. Now this is a 40% silver coin. So this is the drummer boy quarter that a lot of people like to call it. It's really the bicentennial quarter, 1776 to 1976. You'll see that on the obverse of the coin for the date. But they did produce some of these quarters with the S mint mark 40% silver. But there are tons of them, you know, that are not the S mint mark that are not silver, right? But this is graded at a proof 64. by PCGS. So the coin has been double struck and that design being rotated. So pretty obvious type of mint error here. You can see the double strike there. This coin ended up selling for around $1,900 at auction, nearly a $2,000 quarter. Now here's a 1988 Washington quarter that was struck onto a 5-cent planchet. So a Jefferson nickel planchet. You can see that the design of the quarter is being cut off there. And this coin ended up selling for around $850 at auction, graded by NGC at a mint state 66. Here's a 1998 Washington quarter graded by PCGS at a mint state 64 that was struck onto a defective planchet. Pretty obvious type of mint error. You can see that there as we zoom in on the quarter. This coin ended up selling for over $155. Now here's the 2002 state quarter from Indiana. So it is the D mint mark and it is missing the reverse clad layer. You see here on the obverse it looks very normal like any old state quarter. Here on the reverse we're missing that outer clad layer. That's why you see the inner copper layer of the quarter. This coin ended up selling for over $260 at auction, graded by Annex at a mint state 63 red. Now here's a 2006 D mint mark. Always look out for these. This has a dropped letter Y here on the front of the quarter, the obverse of the coin. It is the North Dakota state quarter here. As we zoom in here on Washington's neck, I've shown this in a previous video, you'll see that dropped Y there. So always be on the lookout for that. That will give the coin a lot of value. This quarter sold at auction for $780, graded at that mint state 65 by PCGS. Now here's a 1960 something. We don't have the last digit of the date here, but it's from a 1960s. It's a silver Washington quarter, it looks like. Yes, and a quarter has been struck through a cloth. The coin graded by NGC at a mint state 62 sold for over $250 at auction. You can see the texture from the cloth there here on the obverse of the coin. Now here on this coin, we also see that different, cloth texture because it's also been struck through a cloth. This one is a no dated Washington quarters. We don't see the date there because of the mint error. This coin sold for $360 at auction, graded at a mint state 65 by NGC. Then here is a die adjustment strike taking place on a silver Washington quarter. That's why it's all faded out there. This coin sold at auction for over $335 as a result of that mint error. Alright guys, don't forget to subscribe in the middle. Feel free to check out the videos to the left of me. And until tomorrow, I'll see you guys in the comment section below. This is Couch Collectibles and this is where I disappear.